On the Sunshine Scooters final college game day, we all really thought Florida State wasn't going to beat Alabama. Thought they'd cover. Didn't think they'd win. Final score in Tallahassee: Noles 31, Alabama 17. This is why you play the games, man. This is why we love college football, because any given Saturday, it doesn't matter what happened a year ago, doesn't matter what people think about your quarterback, your head coach, your roster, you still got to line it up. And if the circumstances break your way, if you just have more on that day, then you're the better team that day and you end up winning that football game. And Florida State may very well be a very, very live operation this year in Tallahassee. Now, we're not going to give them the crown just yet. We're going to talk this thing through. We'll break it down. If you're a Florida State fan, congratulations. Make sure you're locked in right here on the On3 YouTube channel. Make sure you are subscribed. Got a feeling now we'll be talking about the Noles a bit more this season. Alabama fans, where do you go from here? We'll talk about that as well. Again, make sure you're subscribed. Get me on the socials, Instagram and Twitter, at JD PicKell. Let me know what you think about this whole thing. We're out here in a hotel room in Miami, breaking this thing down here for the Notre Dame Miami game. Some action around that. It looks a little bit different. That's why, usually in studio. But let's just start here with Florida State. You found yourself. Okay, some people, they got to do a darkness retreat. Some people, you got to backpack through Europe. Some people, you got to do like a year or two at home with the parents. Florida State, all you had to do was go hit the portal hard yet again. Go get yourself a new quarterback, and they won Thomas Castellanos, who's probably got the key to the city in Tallahassee right now, and go get yourself 2 new coordinators. You found yourself. Didn't it just feel like, let me put it to you this way, didn't it just feel watching Florida State play more in line with the brand of ball you've come to expect from Florida State? Aggressive, swagger, pride, confidence, all those things that kind of sound cliche. When you close your eyes, you think Jalen Ramsey, you think Jameis Winston, you think about that just kind of attitude from Florida State football that was missing a year ago. We'll see how long it's in Tallahassee this season and stretches beyond this season. But I'll tell you what, in that game, it was there. And it was coming off of A1 Thomas Castellanos. All right. I love so much the game plan, both on offense and defense. Like, let's start with Gus Malzahn. The amount of misdirection paired with speed, paired with tempo, with that which they operated between snaps. Like, it felt like hey, listen, we're emptying the clip today. Like, our quarterback talked his stuff this offseason to our very own Pete Nakos here at On3. We're going to do everything with this game plan to put it on his shoulders and then also around him to back it up. Explosives were abundant today for the Noles. 10.9 yards a pass, 4.7 yards of rush. All right. And it was a fireworks show, especially early on. The flow of this game offensively was exactly the kind of flow that Florida State had to have. Quick start, generate some belief, shot downfield to Squirrel White, get Tommy C in the end zone, get Doak activated, right? Get the people into it. And defensively, it's kind of the same story. Like, we talk about the aggression on the offensive side. I saw the aggression on the defensive side. And it wasn't just like Tony White was dialing up some pressures. He did that for sure. New DC for Florida State. He definitely had some tricks up his sleeve. But, man, you go watch that game back. There was a lot of Florida State applying pressure without any blitzes dialed up. Like, legitimately, that defensive line for Florida State, I think, probably felt a little bit, you'd have to think, disrespected by the way we talked about them all offseason, by the way we talked about Alabama. And they played like a man, held Alabama to 74 yards rushing, and got after Ty Simpson to the tune of 3 sacks unofficially. Like, there was a genuine pressure applied, not just from the scheme, but overall, like, just the personnel you had in that front 7 and that front 4 specifically. So for Florida State, I understand that it's just one game, and we'll talk about kind of the long run here for how you treat this game in a second. But think about everything that went into this game. Remember when Thomas Castellanos, will go back to this, says, I don't see how they can stop me with Saban not there. It's basically calling his shot, saying we're coming after Bama. Caught a lot of flack for that. The college football public, on the social media side, everyone throwing out jokes and talking about that Vanderbilt quote where they said, Bama, you're next. And then what happened. It was on Florida State to respond to Tommy C. It was on Tommy C to bring it. And very clearly, by efforts that we saw on the field, by the results of this game, they brought it. They met the moment. They backed up all that talk. And so to do that now against an opponent like that, against that logo, say what you want about Bama long-term, say what you want about how they finished last year and how they looked in this game, to do it against a logo and a program like that, that's a good football team, I still believe, a good roster at the very least. Think about the level of validation internally you have now. I mean, you already had some confidence if you're Tommy Castellanos, and I think that's a non-negotiable for what you had to inject into your football team. But for everyone around him now, to be who you thought you could be and to have tangible proof now to look at that on Sunday and look at that on Monday and looking at future games and go back to the Alabama game and remember this game, I think there is no way to overstate the impact that can have on Florida State here for the foreseeable future here, especially in 2025. Now, this was awesome. This is a great moment. You would hope and pray that the city of Tallahassee can withstand the madness that will ensue after a game like this because of all the good vibes going around. But I want to say this. It's not hard to get up for Alabama for game one. It's not. And you had home field advantage. It was a gross weather kind of game. Alabama had some injuries on the defensive line. I'm not diminishing it, but I'm just saying this is not a difficult game if you're Florida State to get up for. You sprinkle on top the fact that your quarterback was talking his cash. What do you do now when it's not the prime time kind of feel around it? Not a prime time slot, but a prime time feel with it being week one. Joe Test losing his mind. Tommy C again building up the hype around this game. What do you do when it's not Alabama on their sideline? What do you do when it's Virginia on a Friday night and you're on the road? What do you do when you're playing a lesser ACC opponent? Do you still have that same level of intensity, of precision, of pride, of all those things that got you a win in this spot and get you wins in the future? Do those things stay with you week in and week out? If they do, Florida State's going to be a force in the ACC and make all of us look foolish, including myself. I said this year is about getting back to neutral. A win like this over Alabama, at the very least, shows that they have the ability to get back to neutral. If you're questioning how it was going to be on the roster and did they hit in the portal with Tommy C, 1 game sample size, I think neutral is a fair label to put on them as it stands right now. Do you get those results going forward? You'd like to think it's more possible after a game like this. So for Florida State, not hard to get up for this one. What do you do in the future after a spot like this? How do you handle success? That's the Florida State side. For Alabama, there's a lot to unpack, especially after a loss like this. I think it needs to sit with us for the better part of a week to get a better feel for all of it. And what I said about the injuries is true. Like, would Tim Keenan have helped stop a Tommy C? 100%. 110%. There's no way around that. Would Jam Miller have been nice to have on the field today to help with that running back rotation and have some more experience out there? For sure. There's no way around that. Ty Simpson, I still think it's too early to have any definitive take on him. I would have liked to see a little bit more, efficiency from him when it came to processing the defense. I don't know if it was a thing where he wasn't seeing it and therefore held the ball too long and then pressure was applied. I don't know if it was a thing where Florida State just kind of had their number up front, kind of felt more like that. Running the ball for 2.6 yards a carry should be inexcusable at Alabama. With that roster, with that offensive line, it should be inexcusable. Don't care who you're playing. 2.6 yards a carry? I was a little bit puzzled by the fact they threw the ball so much. Like, I know they were down for a fair part of this game. I don't know if it was ever throw the ball 43 times down in this game. I don't think it ever got to like that level of urgency for the better part of those 2.5 to 3 quarters. Like, towards the end, obviously you're throwing it, but 43 times. My biggest concern with Alabama coming out of that game is this. You had every reason in the world to have a chip on your shoulder, to play pissed off, to play with a different level of anger, controlled anger, mind you. But this is a spot now where Nick Saban teams, not fair to compare DeBoer and Saban, but Nick Saban teams, mind you, those old Bama teams that have that Bama standard, this is a game where they would have made a quarterback pay for talking the way that Tommy Castellanos was talking during the offseason. There's a team now than when they missed the playoff a year ago and they circle back offseason and everyone's questioning DeBoer and, their way of doing things. And, you only won 9 games, lost to Michigan. This is a spot where old Alabama, the Bama that, quite frankly, that fan base expects, would have made a point. All right. I know ESPN flashed up the graphic. I think it was like 23 straight season openers. Bama had won. A lot of those were like ugly wins in the sense that like Bama made it boring to watch in the second half because they were up by so much. And I hesitate to say that a little bit because I'm not, again, trying to compare DeBoer and Saban, but I think just overall the mentality within the team makes me a little bit nervous. Like, there was no more need for bulletin board material based on what happened this past offseason, based on what I just said, the lack of achieving your own expectations internally. I think this spot in itself was very, very real. We talked about it on the show during our preview. Big reason why we had Florida State covering. Ty Simpson, leading into the spot, first started as like the guy at Alabama, playing a team that was going to be aggressive on defense, playing a team that was going to try and shorten the game and hold the ball, playing a team at home with something that they had to prove, but nothing really to lose. All those things I think did factor in here. So for Bama, they're not cooked. They're not done. DeBoer's not the wrong guy. None of those things are true. But the way they looked in the spot now makes me a touch nervous about where the mindset's at. I'm not saying it's not good. I'm not saying they won't still make the playoff. I'm not actually even backing off my playoff prediction for Bama at this point in time. I think it's far too soon for that, but it's very obvious. There needs to be a adjustment in the way that Bama is approaching things when it comes to the intensity level and the maybe just even the pride internally. I don't know what it is. I don't pretend to know what it is, but all I know is that was a team that had every reason to play with hair on fire, intensity, and all those things, all the cliches coaches like throw out there, had every reason to do that and did not see it in the spot. Not overly worried about Ty Simpson just yet, but those things have to be addressed. And knowing Kalen DeBoer and knowing how that staff has operated, I have every reason to believe that will get corrected. But if you're a Florida State fan tonight, go enjoy yourself. If you're an Alabama fan tonight, somewhere rise tomorrow. Go get yourself a little shower cry, DoorDash something good, and we'll circle the wagons for week 2, both sides of this. For Caden Smith on 1s and 2s, seeing everything that you see here from my man making this all work in a Miami hotel room. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We'll keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time.